Danielle Fitzpatrick Clark is a #1 international best-selling author, speaker, and the Better Than a Blueprint business coach for influencers and entrepreneurs. She has helped 6- and 7-figure small business owners and entrepreneurs become more visible, scale their business, and create powerful platforms and tailor their success to build their dreams on their terms, following their yellow brick road. And all while having a lot of fun, definitely, and co-creating, because it doesn't just take a village when building your dream business. It takes a city. Danielle, you ready to rock this interview?
Yes.
Yes, she is. Born ready, of course.
Been waiting for this all freaking week.
Woo! Yes, we are now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. We're going to have a lot of fun. This interview is going to be spicy and fun and really great, talking about gems and crystals and all kinds of great stuff like that. So we're going to dive right into the theme of the day, which is the power of silence. So Danielle, how does the power of silence impact and affect your life, your relationships, your work, and your philosophy?
Well, you know what? You got to be quiet to listen to other people.
It's true. This is true.
I come from a household of mostly females. And they're all chatty. So I have 3 daughters, and what I found as a parent, and it really works well with my clients, is that I need to be quiet. I need to listen. So the power of silence can go a long way, just from sitting and going, yeah, or not even doing anything at all, just nodding my head. And more gets done that way with my family, with my friends, and my colleagues, and with my clients than me having to say all these different words. So the power of silence is just to be a really good listener.
And when you are that listener, what arises? What's the value in that? Why is that important?
Well, because I'm actually taking a step back. It's not about me. So first and foremost, if I can sit and listen to their story, I can tap into what they're feeling and what they're trying to get to, where they need clarity. And it has nothing to do with me. But I wouldn't know that if I was talking to them, above them, around them. The only way that I can know what someone's actually going through is to sit and be still and listen.
Wow.
So, which goes over into like being still yourself on days where you can actually show up and be still on phone calls.
I love it. I love it. Okay, cool. So definitely silence is creating space for people to be heard so that we can actually hear them. And you know, that's where solutions get created. That's where connection happens. We can really connect with people and hear what they're saying versus what our mind wants to interpret them to be saying or wants them to be saying. So that's awesome and super valuable for everyone because it creates more harmony. It creates more peace, creates more love, connection. So that's beautiful. And we're going to move right into the next section. And Danielle, why don't you share a little bit more about what you do and who you help? And I read a little bit of the intro, but just give it to us in your own words.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm the Better Than Blueprint business coach for influencers and entrepreneurs. And I tend to pluck people out of a little bit longer in their journey. So when I meet people, they have done all the blueprints, they've used all the swipe copy, they've grabbed everyone's sales funnel templates, and it's not working for them. Or it stopped working for them. They saw a certain amount of success, and now they're like, well, this just doesn't feel right. This just doesn't feel like me. And I'm like, oh, great. Where I get to be silent and kind of ask them some questions and listen, and soon discover, I'm like, oh, well, let's try this and maybe you can get on board because this is your idea. So we're going to work with what you really want to do. So as a business coach, when you're taking it to that next level, when you're scaling, it is important to insert yourself in your business and every part of it, you know, and knowing what your core values are, knowing, you know, who it is you want to serve and really digging in who you love to serve. That can be sometimes the entrepreneurial small business trap, is like we try to help everyone, but tuning into who you really want to help, who you love helping, and who you know how to help the most is essential. And not just for scaling the business, but for drawing in and attracting more of those people who are like-minded, who are like those dream clients, the ones that you have and the ones that you've nurtured, and then continuing to spread that message in a powerful way. And again, you have to know yourself very well, and having a coach support you in that helps a lot. So I got a lot of tools in my toolbox to help them discover that. And then we can create the strategies, and then we can do the yearly plan or the 2-year plan. But first it starts within.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful. The foundation is so essential. If you don't have the foundation right, if you don't have the values, the vision, the why, then anything you try to build is just not gonna stick.
Oh yeah, you'll totally sabotage it.
Oh my gosh. So how did we get to this point today with you helping all these people with these challenges? Take us back on the journey, and what were some of those pivotal moments and rock bottoms, challenges that you had to overcome that built this strong desire and why for yourself to help all these people?
Yeah, well, I have to say my why started pretty simple in that I wanted to work from home because I wanted to be with my daughter. So always had a present mom myself, so I wanted to be that present mom too. So my why started off as I want to help my children. So I started as a copywriter. I'm a good writer. I started that end of 2009, so quite a while ago. And I will say that I didn't really necessarily plan on being a business coach or being a big time entrepreneur or having a huge following. I didn't really plan on that. But when you're called to do something, you just follow it. So lots of aha moments, lots of kind of down in the dirt. And I know that this isn't something that people usually talk about, but I love talking about it because I feel like the real is relatable. So in order for people to be able to relate and tune in, you actually have to be honest with your journey. And it's been a long one. I've been around for a while. Nobody knew. So copywriter too. And then I started doing digital marketing production, online production, all online marketing, digital marketing, online production, helping people to create events where they were bringing other speakers together, interviewing them. So all the behind the scenes implementing, I get bored with it because I'm just more of a people person, but I did it. And copywriting. And I remember being, watching all the other coaches out there and building their dreams and out in front and interviewing people. I'm like, man, you know what? That looks so much more fun than what I'm doing here and working with like links and websites. And I'd much rather be out there doing that. So I started to get a little resentful. I'm like, why do they get to do it and I don't get to? Of course, I never said that to them, but that's what I was thinking. And finally, I kept implementing. I kept running people's businesses, doing the operations, doing the strategies, doing the technology. I think I've ran almost every part of one person's business, and it was like a huge 7-figure business, and it was exhausting. Wow. And I just remember this one moment, this one day where I had woken up and I wanted to take my weekend off. It was a Friday, and I was like, I got everything done the night before, Thursday night, stayed up until midnight, and I woke up with 15 emails in my computer inbox. Everyone wanted changes. Oh, man. And they wanted them now. So the realization was that I'm not going to get my weekend off. I haven't had a weekend off in 8 months. And I actually dropped to my knees and started crying. It was not a pretty moment. And we're not talking about, a cute little dribble of tears. We're talking about ugly crying.
Sobbing.
Like, it was snot and all that gross stuff. And just like, help. Help. I was just miserable. I was miserable. I didn't really love the people I was working with, didn't love what they were doing, didn't feel like they were doing something meaningful in the world. They were just trying to make money, and it just didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. And then I was behind the scenes, and I wasn't really living my passion. I wasn't living the dream. I was surviving. I was in survival mode. So, and when everyone hits the ground, some of us say help and show me the way, and some of us keep crying, but I was like, no, I'm ready. I don't want to feel like this anymore. So funny enough, that was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And since that moment, that drop down, ugly cry moment, things have shifted. I made a decision and I made the decision that this can go slow. I'm okay with this going slow, but that I really wanted to change. I wanted to change how I felt first and foremost about myself, which at that point I felt miserable about myself. I think I said every nasty word you can possibly say to yourself, right? Just like, you're a loser, and that downward spiral, like you're not a good mom, you're not a good implementer, who do you think you are to do all this stuff? And I decided that I'm like, I'm really tired of feeling that way about myself, because if anyone should love me, or if anyone's going to love me, it's going to be me first and foremost. So, that was kind of that big aha moment. And I quit working for those clients within a couple of weeks. I just said, no, I'm done. Here's someone else's number. Here you go. And, I thought and I kept the ones that I loved, that I really liked what they were doing, which they ended up being the conscious entrepreneurs, the ones that are out there doing a lot of good. And I just showered them with gratitude and just said, I love you guys. I love what you're doing. Funny enough, they weren't used to hearing it. And I got referrals immediately and filled up those client spots, but I still knew that I wanted to coach. And I'm more of a, all right, I'm going to take this as slow as possible type of person, because, hey, I'm already 7 years into this entrepreneurial stuff. What's another couple of years? I can still take this slow. I'm still young. And, it took me another year from that of development and I really did work more on transformation. So instead of going and hiring a business coach so I could be a business coach, I went and worked with transformational coaches so that I could start loving myself first. And so I could start seeing the power within myself and empowering myself and take myself out of that victim role, because that was not the best role for me, especially if I wanted to be a coach, if I wanted to coach other people. I knew that I had to learn. I had to learn that it starts within. And that took another year, and then wrote a book on the bestseller list, did my own co-hosted my own summit, filled up my own coaching programs. And that was January of 2017 when I came out as a coach. And here I am, year and a half later, lots of clients, huge following. So it does happen very quickly, and it does start within. So I teach people to go within first.
What did it take you to really get that following, get the momentum, get people to see the value in what you were doing?
Oh, visibility. And that was tough. Yeah. That was tough for me. And that's another piece of the whole self-love thing, is that I grew up in a time or in a place where children were better to be seen and not heard. So from a very young age, I learned that I was mouthy. Not mouthy in a bad way, just I had a lot to say and I had no filter, and I still don't have a filter, but that's okay. I'm really good with that. And so I had this block when it was first time for me to be visible. When I was first doing interviews, I actually had a nice little panic attack before the first interview, like, needed a paper bag, head between my legs, blowing into it's comical. It is. I laugh at myself now, but it was real at that moment. Like, oh my gosh, am I really going to do this? What are people going to think? So all the work I'd done the year before came right back around. So, and I persevered, and I did that actually by one simple thing. It's just like, Danielle, and it's this nice little voice in my head that comes in like, Danielle, this isn't about you. This isn't about you. Think about the one person, because maybe there'll only be one if you show up like a hot mess that you are right now, and that's okay. Right. But think about the one person that's going to see this and needs to hear what you have to say. And that's how I actually threw away the paper bag and stepped up and did the first interview. So
wow. That's powerful. I'm curious, like, so many people, you see them working on, you're already, 8 years into the entrepreneurial journey. Yeah. I'm curious, what does it take for other entrepreneurs who are 1, 2, 3 years into the journey to fast track their success and to get, how you went from the last, year and a half, no visibility to where you're at today?
Yeah, and I wish I could say it's just a matter of just do it. And some people can. I mean, some people can. They just like, I'm going to do this, and I know this, and it really does come down to choice, right?
Yeah.
So you choose. You choose that I'm going to do this entrepreneurial business thing, and I have that conviction that this is where I'm meant to go. And I usually find that people are just they just get to a point. They come to a point where they're like, no, this is what I'm doing, and it's a choice. And committing to that choice with that conviction, and then moving forward that way. So it just depends on how willing you are to look at your own blocks, your own triggers. And they're not anything. I mean, triggers are a gift. That's what I tell people. And they're like, what? Danielle, you're freaking crazy. Why do you say that? And I'm like, because they are a gift. Because in any other way, if you weren't triggered, if you weren't having an emotional reaction on something that you have no control over, how would you know that it's actually happening, that it's something to look into? So what I think that people fast track it is that they actually have that courage to look a little deeper, to actually feel, oh my gosh, that was hard for me. Like to actually feel what it is that's bothering you, what's coming up, and going right for that rather than turning and running away from it or powering through, which just is really, you're just going around it. It's going to come back around. But that's, actually taking that courage and going in deep and then coming out. And it can be a painful process. I mean, we say process for a reason, processing through things. It is a process. And the only way out is through. So, yeah.
Wow. It's powerful. So in terms of influencers these days, what are you seeing as the best, kind of business strategy or track that's like working to grow a business quickly, to build a following, to be a great influencer?
Yeah, well, it's paving your own path. So, I mean, strategies are that if you see something that you want to do, are you doing it because everyone else is doing it, or are you doing it because you feel like, no, I really feel like this is the way to go? A lot of times that's the opposite of what everyone's doing. So, and it's, and I told my clients this once, I'm like, if you really believe in yourself and your business and your mission, and I work with a lot of mission-based entrepreneurs, like influencers, are like, no, this is my mission. I feel passionate about this. And that mission usually comes from something that they absolutely want to see done in the world, or something that, something just really pisses them off. And they're like, there's enough of this. Let's find a solution for that. That's a mission. And if you are actually willing to stand on a ledge by yourself for that mission, for those people you're serving, you're on your way to influencer status. Even if no one hears you screaming, eventually they'll come around. So stand on your soapbox and go for it.
Wow. That's powerful. And when people are first getting started, a lot of their challenges might be like I think we said, who's going to listen? Who's going to listen to this message? Who wants to hear this? So, what's the fastest way to? We were talking with Kenny last interview. You were talking about owning your story. What's the fastest way to own our story and be courageous in sharing it?
Yeah. Well, believe it or not, it's not about the bigger picture. It's about the one. So, it's funny enough, whenever I go on, I think about just one person that needs to hear from me. And on stage, it's just like, oh, and I already know what I'm creating a live event, and I already know exactly how I'm going to come out, because I'm going to be nervous. It's going to be nerve-wracking a little bit. I'm just going to like, oh, you in the front. I'm going to look and talk to you. You're my person today. So
you're my safety blanket.
You're my safety. You're going to be my person. I'll find someone else tomorrow, but for today, if you're going to stay in the front, you're mine. And I'm going to speak to you. But it's the same idea, is that there's one person out there that absolutely needs to hear from you. And they tend to be your dream clients. And if anyone's perfect for your dream clients, it's you. It's you, your products, your story, what it is you offer. You're their dream coach, consultant, service provider. They're your dream client. There's no better person for them at that time than you. So speak to them.
One of the things that people are talking about today is like niche down, whatever. Get more specific, laser focus, and this is like perfect. You're talking to one person, and a lot of people are like, well, who is my target audience? Who's my one person? It's like think about you. Did you need your products and services as you grew through your challenges? Is there a couple steps back that needs what you have to offer now? That's typically in the coach, influencer, service provider space, is a lot of times like we've gone through these challenges and got the wisdom so that we can share it with people who are going through similar challenges.
Absolutely. I mean, who better to give permission than someone who's been through it before?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And what else is cool is a lot of people say, well, who, like, even if it's me, whatever, a while back, like what if I don't want to work with that person? What if who I was like a jerk? And what's great about the business online that we can create today is you can find someone who's close to you with maybe similar challenges, but a different personality type. Maybe you want to work with someone who shows up on calls, and who you were in the past missed calls and didn't have integrity and that kind of stuff. So what's great about business today is you get to design that perfect client, that dream client, that who you want to work with. And I think that's just so amazing, the era that we live in.
Yeah. And when you say that, when someone's looking back and kind of that judgment on themselves, like the one that missed calls and wasn't consistent, I would encourage you to first look at what you're not accepting of yourself at that time.
Wow.
And not loving on yourself at that time. It's that whole thing that and I know avoidance like no other person. I do know avoidance and in avoiding those parts of ourselves that, I didn't find acceptable. I mean, do you think I really want to meet somebody that just got done their ugly cry? It's like calling me up like, I'm going to hire you. Not really. No, it's not. That's not the dream. But also, it also comes down to really accepting that moment in my life and where I was at and how it catapulted me to where I am now. So if that's something that you're looking at, I would first encourage you to look at that person and love them where they were and how it helped you get to where you are now, so that you can attract the dream clients, the ones that maybe are a little further along than you were at that time, that are perfect for you.
Yeah. Wow. What would you say is the work that it takes to align with working with those dream clients?
Yeah, it starts inwards for sure. Inner work. Yep. Yeah. And I like to say that when we're doing the inner work and we're trying to align with those dream clients, it's about coming into you're going to love this, the silence.
Yes.
In the middle, the silence. It's an observing role, right? Yeah. It's an observing role. It's a neutral, quiet role so that you can observe. So first observing yourself and how your emotions are coming up and how you're relating to yourself during certain situations, taking that neutral standpoint and listening to all sides of yourself. I don't know about everyone else, but yeah, I have had different parts of myself that like to talk to me. So conflicting intentions, right?
Yes.
The inner conflicts. Yeah. And they have voices and they have opinions and they don't mesh. So if we're looking for dream clients, we're doing that inside work, coming into that neutral place so you can make intentional decisions that way. First doing that and listening to both sides and like, well, what is it that I'm going to choose for myself today? Do I want to, I hear this side and I hear that side. Is it something where I can come into the middle and make that choice, or is it one or the other? It doesn't matter. Just a choice is needed, and observing and being silent is a way to do that first. When you can do that, you can make a choice to who is it that I really want to attract into my business, and listening to that and going through that process. When I myself did it, I really decided that I've been helping a lot of people who are at the beginning of their entrepreneurial journey. Had lots of success helping them. And I also found that that's not where I want to be anymore. And it's not that I don't love entrepreneurs and I want them to succeed. I just want them to do just a little bit of work and getting a little bit further along. And then when they're ready, and I know that when they're ready, they're going to come to me, and I know that, and it does happen. They do come to me. Then we can really get some magic going here. they know that it's like, okay, Danielle doesn't like to work with people who are playing the victim. And it's not that I don't like to, it's just that I need you guys to take ownership of everything that you have in your life first. So that's usually what I say first is like, are you willing to take ownership of everything in your life? And people just like, everything at this point. Everything. Somebody asked me that too when I first started working. I was like, do I have to? Yes, you do. And I'm like, and now when I look back, I'm like, I understand that because that's kind of taking that ownership, and it's much more empowering. So we're going to talk about empowerment. It's much more empowering to look around just like, yeah, I created all of this. But the good, the bad, the ugly, you know what? I did this, and you know, I'm here. I'm still breathing. You know, a roof over my head. Because then you can come into that place of gratitude when you've actually acknowledged and no judgment, and you're here. This is where I am. So what am I grateful for? Great. I'm grateful for a lot. And then you can move forward even more. So very simple process.
I love it. I do want to get into the messaging and like how that happens. Before that, I do want to dive into more of like the personal spiritual side of you and how that all happened and has been evolving, because I know you're a pretty spiritual woman as well, and how that's played into your journey.
Yeah, and I didn't just wake up one morning and say, "Oh, I'm spiritual." I wasn't like that at all. It was more of a knowing there's something more here to be said. You know, there's something that's not what I learned when I was younger, and I felt it. And I followed that. So for spirituality, and I know people are so surprised because I'm a business coach. And I will admit, I still don't own all of that parts of myself, but it's there for sure. So when I started, that was just, instead of hiring a business coach, I hired transformation coaches. I worked with transformation, money mindset. I worked with inner child coaches, all that, because there was a lot there for me to discover. And I didn't really know myself. I didn't really know what made me tick. I was again surviving, and I wanted to thrive, and I wanted to know what made me tick. And what I did know about myself, the opinions I did have about myself were not positive. They were very negative. So, and I didn't want to feel that way. So it was a choice. And that's when I got on the spiritual journey and started discovering all these different things. And again, it's the rock bottom moment. I feel like that's a very common theme for people who are seekers and seek spirituality, is they actually drop and cry and ugly cry and snot, and there's like a moment. Everyone has that like moment, right? So it was that, and knowing who I wanted to work with, and honestly, you know, I feel like the coaches just showed up for me. Yeah, it just kind of like, I mean, I don't want to say it's like magic and they're here, but it felt like that at some times, and it was like, I really like you. And I kind of followed my intuition. No, not kind of. I followed my intuition. I followed my intuition. Yeah, I'll own that. I followed my intuition. And instead of it just being something I glazed over, like a website or listening to an interview and just kind of like, yeah, that was nice, I would follow that if I was really pulled that way to learn more about that coach, that person. And then I built. It was a daily process. Spirituality isn't something that just happens. It's something that, it's like a muscle. You build it. Yeah. And it was very challenging. I'm a very stubborn person. And it was baby steps for me. It wasn't just, I'm going to make all these huge changes. I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. I'm going to meditate every morning. I had to build it in, and I had to take small steps. So the first thing I did was I started to talk much nicer to myself. I started to really say nice things and encourage myself and really bring out that inner cheerleader. So that's the first thing I worked on, the self-talk.
That's awesome. And like you said, there's so many different parts. There's faith, there's alignment, there's, connection with nature. There's like all these different parts of spirituality that are involved. And I love it. It's like one step at a time. How does the guru become a guru? He starts as an apprentice, starts as, an initiate, whatever it is, and just take one step at a time on the journey. So I think that's awesome. And I just wanted to talk about that. And, we just had so much fun on the pre-call talking about.
Oh, hold on. Let me get into my brush.
Do you have the crystal?
I do. Of course I've got crystals. So for you guys who don't know, I got a good story. Do you mind if I tell a good story? Hold on.
Please.
The other one. Okay. So when Chris and I were first on the call, I was telling him about how I keep crystals in my bra. So this is my nice little pink one. And I have my nice little black power one. I think I have a green one in here somewhere. I've got 4 in my bras. And the joke is that, oh my goodness, you know what? Why don't they make a bra that has little pockets for our rocks so that are for my crystals? I'm like, I have to wear this really padded bra that's probably a size too big just to fit all my crystals in there. And it would be really nice to come up with a bra that actually had little pockets and they zipped them in there. And, but there's nothing, I haven't found anything out there like that. And
you hear that, really fashion designers, get to work.
somebody partner with me. I mean, I'll look through it. I'll help you design it. I'll be your model. But yes, I keep rocks in my bras because I like to be comfortable and I wear yoga pants, and yoga pants don't have pockets. So where else am I going to put these bad boys but in my bra? Funny story is sometimes I'll go to the store and I'll forget that they're still in my bra. So, and of course I don't have a bra with pockets, so it's nicely covered. So I went into the store yesterday and like, why is everyone looking at my chest? I mean, it's not that low cut of a shirt, right? And I'm like, well, there's a guy. I'm not surprised. There's an old guy. Not surprised. Oh, the women are. Oh, okay. So it looks like these really big rocks in the front, or something weird's going on here. So yeah, if anyone out there does design bras or anything like that, we need bras that have pockets for our crystals.
We have Cece who says I do the same thing. Crystals in the bra. This is a happening that nobody's talking about. This needs to come to the surface.
Well, the worst part is when you forget they're in there, because you do, and you take it off and the rocks go flying everywhere. Because they do. If you bra pops off, so do the crystals. And yes, I have hit my husband in the head a few times with rocks.
In the heat of the moment, the rocks fly out.
Or just trying to get into jammies. Just like, what was that? Nothing. Nothing.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
Is this yours? Yeah. I'm like, yeah. Can we just put it over there? I'll get it in the morning. But you see, if I had like a little pocket in my bra that maybe just zipped up or just like stuck, this wouldn't happen.
That's right.
And I wouldn't lose my favorite rocks underneath the bed either. So just saying, anyone wants a really good idea for a bra, this one's needed for the conscious entrepreneur industry or the spiritual.
It's already being developed because we talked about it. It's already in development. So just find it. Just Google enough times.
Tell me, I will buy it.
Googler. I love it. Okay, so that was our great laughing space for the interview. It was so much fun. I knew we were going to talk about this.
Oh, of course. I'm an open book. You can ask me anything. I'll talk about anything.
I love it. So in terms of the messaging, let's start diving into that, because I know that's something that's really near and dear to your heart. We were talking about the avatar, the perfect client earlier. Let's transition into how that relates to the messaging and the philosophy about messaging in business.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I love this because it kind of goes back to the spiritual journey, right? Mm-hmm. Spirituality. And I don't know if everyone's made that connection, but it does. It comes back into, I do this all the time whenever I'm creating copy for myself, or if I got a client that needs help. I'm like, okay, let me ask some questions so that I can dig into not only, your ideal client, but what it is you want to help them with. So it's really important to observe. So again, going into that neutral place and being well practiced, well versed in taking yourself out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about you. It's about them.
Yep.
It is. It's not about what you want. And this is a product for your ideal client. So you've identified them. You know who they are. You know what you're selling. Now, how do I communicate this to them? You take yourself out of it. Take yourself out of the equation. Like, this isn't about me. This isn't about my sales. This isn't about how many I sell. You know, the dollar figures that are flashing before your face, guys, just put them down for a second. Just shut them down. And think about what it is that they really want. And people will buy when they're in pain, first and foremost.
Yeah.
They're in pain. Feel their pain. Feel into their pain. And if you can't get there, if you can't relate to them at that point, it's time to go and do some market research. It's time to talk to some people who are in the pain that you want to help solve, or who you see as ideal clients. And if you've done the client avatar, you have an idea. You've seen people like that. Social media is great. Facebook is great to find your ideal clients. It's almost like the perfect place to do your research.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
I mean, everybody's out there.
That's why Facebook is selling all the information already, you know? Like they're already tracking it at a much deeper, more insidious level. So why don't we use their same strategy at a beneficial
Be careful what you guys Google, because there's going to be a Facebook ad for it.
Right.
Immediately.
Yes.
Sign out of Facebook before you go to Google and put something shameless in there. But yeah, it's a great place for market research.
Yeah.
It is. I love Facebook for market research. I love going out into the community. I love people. That's where I get my energy from. So I work with business owners, so I go to businesses and I go in there just like, what is it that they have? Maybe I want to buy something, or, you know, maybe I want to see what they're up to. Like, oh, there's this great piano store. And I love the piano. I've been playing it since I was five.
Wow.
And so there was this great piano store. I've been putting it off. And for whatever reason, I just had to go in there today. I'm like, no, I got to go in there. I got to play a piano. I got to see a Steinway. I got to do this. And what happened is that the owner was there, and he was like all into branding and has, you know, trying to get in the online space. He actually runs meetings for other piano store owners in the Carolinas. So he just picks the crap out of my brain about online marketing. And I was like, oh, well, is this something that you and your colleagues are finding super difficult? Yeah, like we don't know how to navigate. I think he figured it out. He was really good. Right. But he was saying that his other colleagues are having a hard time because they're so good at researching, right? And they're doing all that research online, all of it online. And they're just coming into the stores and they're like looking for a certain amount for a piano. And they don't necessarily know the difference between like a $80,000 piano versus a $5,000 one. And so business owners are finding it really hard to communicate that with them within like the 2-minute window of them looking around. So that was me just going out and doing some market research. I'm like, oh, so my ideal clients would probably really like to know how to pre-educate their clients before they even come into the store, or at least get them to come into the store and stay longer so they can talk to them. So maybe there's a couple different things going on. Maybe they need to learn better communication skills with clients if they have less time. So it's really fascinating to go out there and just talk to people. Yeah, talk to them and listen. Hear where their pain points are. Like again, Facebook's great. I like to go and talk to people in person and ask some open-ended questions like, well, how are you doing this? Or how is this? And letting them do the talking and then me do the listening. So it comes back to that whole silence thing. It comes in handy. And that's when you can really find out their pain if you can't step into it yourself. So that would be like the first thing is find out their pain. I know what's really keeping them up at night. And when I say really keeping them up at night, like it takes something very painful to keep people up at night. I'm sorry. Just like at least my age, when you got kids and businesses, I'm like, it's going to really bother me because I'm exhausted by the end of the day. So you want to know what keeps them up at night. And also identifying that this is what keeps them up at night. Do I have a solution?
Mm.
Being really authentic with that. Do I have a solution right now in my services and product development that I could give them to help with this pain? You may not, which is good too. This is good market research to know, because then you can go back and really create a product with your expertise, right, so that you can have that solution for them. If they're truly your dream clients, you want to anyway. You really want to. You want to help them. And we need sleep. We need sleep and water and food. So help them sleep. So these are like the beginning stages, but once you know that pain and once you have that perfect product, your messaging becomes easy. Yeah. It's so easy once you've identified all those things. Once you've identified their pain and that you have that solution to help them with their pain, you're not going to be able to shut up. You're not going to be able to stop talking. You're going to, it's like, I know this. And yes, of course, cool down a little bit before the sales process, because you don't want to just like blah, blah all over them. Right. Like the word vomit everywhere. But again, like we're talking about messaging specifically. So copy, content. Yeah, once you know their pain and you have that solution, then it comes very easy. If you're still struggling with it, you've got the market research. Get the keywords from your clients, from your dream clients. They're going to tell you. So if you don't have a great memory, do a Zoom call. You can come back on it. You can actually ask them, describe your pain for me in 3 words or less. They're going to give you everything that you need for your content, for your messaging. And then bring that together and see how powerful it becomes once you have that solution.
For the people who maybe aren't at the point of having a roster full of clients, how would you recommend that they do that market research with something like Facebook groups and like, how would they do that?
So are you talking specifically about people who don't have clients or who don't have clients and don't know exactly what they want to sell?
I would say it's more of they've picked up clients, they've made some money, they've hit or miss kind of thing, but they're not consistent with it, and they're still working on their branding. So they know what they want to sell, they've sold it before, but it's just like they're still aligning their messaging and doing that like market research kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's a couple different things to do with this. So I will find that if you're not selling, even though you know your dream client, you've sold in the past, there's probably a gap in between your product and your confidence. So first kind of look and see, it may not even be a messaging issue. It may be the confidence that you hold when you're putting the value of your services. So a true dream client who's in pain, they want a confident seller. They want someone who's confident that they have the solution. So if you have sold it, that means that you have a good product that has a solution. Now it's time to look at your confidence in how you're selling it. I'd start there. Personally, I would start there. And it may also be that you haven't really expressed the true value of your product and services in your messaging. So first, the confidence is what I tell people to look at, and then I look at the value. And keep in mind with the buying psychology, people want to know what's in it for them, first and foremost. So if you're looking to really boost up that value in your content, in your copy, ask yourself this question as if you're the client: what's in it for me? Not as the seller, as the client, what's in it for me? So a way to show that value is to tell the client, this is what's in it for you. And if you do know what's keeping them up at night, people will buy a solution to a pain, something that they're already in, like that pain that they're already in. They'll buy a solution to that rather than something that's good for them. So, same thing as eating. Are you going to choose chocolate cake or carrots? I'm in that pain.
I want pleasure.
I want my yummy food. Pleasure receptor. Give me that chocolate cake. So, it's true for the psychology. If they're in the pain, they will purchase to get out of the pain rather than purchasing something that has, that it's good for them. So, which is really interesting. Not everyone. I do want to make that emphasis that this isn't for everyone. Some people would much rather, they're in a different place, and there's a smaller percentage that will buy based on the bigger value of it. So people who are just like, no, if you can 10 times my ROI, then yes, I'm interested. So you do have those percentage of people. And also it just depends on where they are in their journey too.
Totally.
So I don't want to tell people that, no, you only have to do the pain. You know your clients best. You may be selling to people who are ROIs. No, I want the highest ROI possible because it's good for me. So that's what's delicious. I'll take my carrots, please.
I want to live a long freaking life. Let's go, carrots.
They're those people too. They want to know that their money is. They want to know that their money is a good investment. So you do need to identify. I will say, based on most buying psychology, people will pay to get out of a pain. But there is that percentage. So identify that piece of it too.
Know your market. Know your
market. Yes. Awesome. And then rinse and repeat.
What other mistakes do you see people making with their messaging?
Oh gosh, it doesn't sound like them. Biggest mistake I see. And if I'm going to do anything that futuristic right now, guys, I'm going to drop this on you, is that the audience is getting sick of hearing the same old crap over and over again. And they want to hear from you. They want to hear your voice, your perspective. And it needs to match who you're showing yourself on visibility wise. So if you're on camera and you act a certain way, man, your messaging better sound like that too. And people are picking up on it. They may not know exactly what it is, but they know something's off. So it would be really weird for me to come out here and talk about crystals in my bras and be the goofball that I am, and then to be super serious in my copy, right? Just like, guys, I'm going to take a super serious turn on you, and we're going to talk about the 4 tactics to use to, I don't know, improve your messaging, and just bland. And they'd be like, who is this person? She must have hired somebody else and they stink. So they must have hired someone to do her content and they stink. And you will know too, you're going to know your social media posts are going to go down. Yeah. So you see it all the time. And I see my colleagues doing it. I'm like, I'll be quiet. You guys come to me when you're ready. But they usually get like hundreds of likes and hearts on stuff that's them, on messaging that's them, on pictures that's with them in it. And when they have someone else do it for them, or you can tell and they got like 3 likes, it's so obvious. It's scary. And I'm like, I hope you didn't spend a lot of money, but it's okay. You got to go through this. You got to learn this for yourself. So yeah, that's the biggest mistake. That's probably the number one biggest mistake, is that your messaging doesn't sound like you. And if you're out there, or you've been out there and that's what people are loving, repeat that. It's put yourself in
one of the other things that's like in alignment with that comes to mind for me is, a lot of people might be afraid to sell online, like sell in their messaging and stuff. And somebody who doesn't post at all about sales for a long time doesn't like condition their audience to expect that from them. And then all of a sudden, you put out this copy that's like sales and teaching and education. It's like people might not respond to it at first if that's not what you've been giving them for so long. So I think that another thing is, if you've been building an audience but you haven't necessarily sold to them, and there's that transition in, okay, now I'm going to start selling, now I'm clear on my offer, then it might take some time for them to get used to your voice of who you really are. And the authenticity will keep and attract the people who resonate with it, and it will repel the people who don't. So if you do see that drop in the beginning, understand that it might be because you weren't being who you are now, this breakthrough version of yourself, this greatest possible self before, and now people just have to get used to it, and you'll find out who your real raving fans are.
Powerful point. And we were talking about a little self-love there, to release that judgment if you see the numbers go down. So wonderful point, Chris, where don't be so hard on yourself. Be true and authentic. Keep going, and the right people. That's absolutely a wonderful point. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you're right. And you're right. You're right. They will. They will attract the right ones and repel the other ones.
Yeah.
So it's such a wonderful example. And I tell people, I'm like, if you're really uncomfortable with like, well, now I want to sell because you know what, I got to sell something, or I'm not going to be able. No one's going to win on this one. I won't even be able to afford the electricity that keeps my internet on, so I can send out the email. So on those, it's such a good point. Let them know, like, hey guys, you know what? I've done a lot of soul searching, and I really haven't been honest with you with who I am and authentic, and that starts today. I want to show up and I want to serve you, and this is how I'm going to do this, and you're going to hear a lot more about me. And yeah, I've got some awesome products along the way too.
Yeah. And in addition, like planting seeds for the future, like when you write copy, when you share your voice, you might have wrote it last year. Like I wrote a profile picture in, I think, September 2017. And I just talked to a potential client yesterday who's like, I saw this post from a while back that talked about this breakthrough that you had with a client. Yep. And I was like, dang, like you saw this from 8 months ago and now you're like talking to me. So just like have that patience too when you figure out who your target client is and you're given that messaging, keep putting it out, because you never know. A podcast that you did 6 months ago might have a new listener who says, I just found out about your interview that you did a while back, and I love your stuff and I want to become like a client. So it's like, it's just that time. I think time is such a powerful catalyst and factor in messaging being effective.
Yeah. Are you talking about just time or timing?
I think both, but like mainly like time. Like give it time. Plant the seeds and then give it time as the content gets spread out. As your message that you've developed, you put it in different places. You put it on different platforms. You put it on YouTube. You put it on podcasts. You put it on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever is your platform. I think it's such a good point. It's time.
Good point. Such a good point. I love that. Yeah, you're so right. You're so right. I think I've had people like sign up for an event I did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. That's closed down, but hey, enjoy the funnel. We'll catch up. I'll pull you in eventually. Oh my gosh, this just reminds me of one of my speakers on one of my summits last year. He was telling me, and he's been in business for a really long time. I mean, man, I think I've been around. This guy's been around even longer. And he said, like, just a couple weeks ago, I had a guy who'd been following me for 8 years.
Oh my gosh.
Finally purchased my program.
Wow.
8 years. Isn't that incredible?
That's timing, right? Timing. Took 8 years for the pain to become great enough, or for the offer to be, resonant enough, the trust to be built, the rapport, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, goodness gracious. God love that person for putting up with pain that long. I want to take care of it right now. I say that knowing that I probably waited a really long time with my pain.
Right? Oh my God.
So I get to give myself a pat on the back.
Yes. Perseverance at its finest.
Yes.
So Danielle, we're beginning to wrap up here. I just wanted to make sure, did we cover everything about messaging, or, is there any final receivables, takeaways that we want our audience to get from this?
Messaging. It is a fun beast. I love messaging. So it's okay if it's not perfect, guys. Just, you can release that. If you're, and really, that's just another nice little block and trigger, right? That we come up to. Like, no, it has to be perfect. You're not going to die if you forgot to put a period at the end of a sentence. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. And you can forgive yourself if it goes out. It's not perfect. I mean, man, most of my emails go out and there's at least one thing wrong, but that's me. And I'm like, forgive the punctuations. I have 3 kids hanging off me as I'm trying to give you good content. It is what it is. So if I'm going to tell you guys anything about your content, it doesn't have to be perfect. And keep in mind that you're not perfect either. And you're growing and you're learning. Forgive yourself, release that, and just keep moving forward. Put it out there. It's meant for someone. One person. The one person.
Wow. That's powerful. Awesome. So Danielle, how do people stay connected with you, and what do we want them to do next?
Ooh, fun. Well, gosh, there's lots of ways that they can get a hold of me. They can go to my new website. We're working on it, but we are doing Entrepreneur City Live, which is a live event here in Charlotte.
Awesome.
Chris, you're going to have to come.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's after yours. Yours is this summer, right?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. So we're in the November. So,
Cool.
But entrepreneurcitylive.com, we have a summit up there, so you guys can watch a couple fun interviews. And this is how I am. So if you like me being goofy, wow, you're gonna watch some great interviews with me just being like this. And I have a nice little webinar that helps you guys with targeting that marketing. So
Sweet.
And it's a bit.ly. Ooh, I shortened it for you.
Yay.
It's bit.ly /3 tactics for the number 4 sales. 3 tactics for sales. So go check it out. You
Boom.
guys can win. Really good stuff.
Love
really
it. The goodies.
The
Getting
goodies.
the goodies.
Giving you guys all my good secrets. You can't have my rocks. They're mine. So
Maybe next time. Maybe that's the bonus level. That's the upsell.
maybe that's how I bless them. I'll bless them and send them out. So those will be my gifts to everyone. They're not blessed unless the first in my bra.
That's one of like the touch points of like when you get a new client, you're like, hey, here's how you know you're with Danielle Fitzpatrick Clark.
I work with a lot of females. I hope they're okay with that. Special infusion of fun energy. It is heart energy. It is. It's from my heart to you guys in a rock. So
that's right.
Can you send rocks in mail? Yeah, you can totally send them in mail. You can send them in an envelope. Yeah,
it's like the perfect item to send in the
mail.
It's
really funny because they get really light. Like my rocks actually lighten, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I must be taking out all their color and sticking it into my skin or something.
Oh my gosh. Awesome. So Danielle, you are a pleasure, a joy, and just so much fun to be with. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing massive value, talking about awesome messaging, talking about target audience, that perfect client, and just so much more fun stuff. Thank you for being who you are and just expressing your brilliance, your radiance everywhere you go. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris. This was awesome.
Yes.
Always a pleasure with you. I knew we were going to have a good time.
Yes. And everyone take action. Definitely get to Danielle's event this November. Stay connected with her. Go to that bit.ly /3 tactics for sales. And I put the autocorrect. Damn autocorrect. It said but. but.ly. It's definitely bitl.ly.
Yes. That's right.
So awesome.
So much,
Thank you. And have the best day ever, okay?
You too. I appreciate you, buddy.
Appreciate you too. Take care.